Ladies and gentlemen, after a brief hiatus, we are back with another Race Weekend Canada's F1 podcast. My name is Dames Nellas. I'm joined by team manager for Pro Racing Ontario.
I'm here again.
Darryl Timmers, fresh out in the sun.
It's fresh out the sun. A little bit of rays on my face. I had to get a little bit of a break after the long season, but I was definitely watching the F1 races while I was there, and wow.
So he was messaging me on WhatsApp. I'm a terrible WhatsApp guy. He was like, "Go, we gotta do this. We gotta do that." I missed the message, but at the same time, we were talking beforehand. I think vacation, especially when you're with the family, is important. So it is all good. For those of you that were like in the comments wondering where it is, the Brazilian GP review. That's why I figured, you're with your family, just do your thing with the family. We can always discuss F1 when we get back. So we'll do a brief little recap of the Brazilian Grand Prix, and then we'll go through the Qatar Grand Prix. So let's start right there. Lewis Hamilton finishes P1.
Yes.
Outstanding weekend in Brazil. 25 place grid penalty. Somehow still ends up on top. Where did the pace come from?
Obviously, part of it is that new power unit they put in, but I honestly think that DQ just woke the lion again. Like we've seen a new Lewis in the last two races that has been missing that little extra pep that we usually see coming from him when he's dominating a championship. And now, I honestly think that last place position in that sprint race really showed him, like, you know what? I can do this. Like, I am one of the best that's on this grid, and I just proved to everyone that I did that. With all those passes and charging from the back to fifth place, like, that is ridiculous in a 24 lap race. Like, that was just, like, no one can say anything except wow. That's the only thing you can say at that point.
We were watching the broadcast, and Anthony Davidson, shouts out to him, he was giving the breakdown.
Yeah.
And Lewis ended up actually changing the line after the first couple of laps that really gave him that drive on that main straight to go from P20 to P5. Then he gets dinged with a 5-place grid penalty because of the power unit upgrade. So he starts P10, and it wasn't long before he was in P1.
No, and I think that's what, Max and Lewis are really good about getting through traffic, is because they know how to alter their line to take clean air to get around these vehicles or the cars in front of them, because that dirty air comes off the vehicle in front of them or the wings in front of them, and then they start creating an understeer or not getting as much grip as they usually do. But if you look at how Lewis and Max, because Max does the same thing, that's how they're able to charge through, that Bottas and Perez are not as good at doing it, but they're never right behind the car. They're a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, so they can get some sort of clean air onto their car or onto their wings to get the grip they need when they're behind people. And it proved at Interlagos and Qatar. Like it helps so much with those long sweeping corners or those low speed corners to get some air on those wings to actually give it the grip. It's not the old school car anymore where it was all based off of tire grip and some aero. And this is what separates the men from the boys when it comes to driving through the pack like that. And I think that's where Bottas struggles. The Mercedes isn't the greatest car in dirty air, but Lewis has made it work, and Bottas has been struggling doing that.
Look, ultimately, you're looking at two guys at the top of the field who are head and shoulders above the rest, like almost 150 points ahead of the rest of the field. And that little tidbit might have been exactly why. Like, that's why I like sitting down with you and talking about this stuff, because you see things from an angle that the general consumer is just not able to see. And like you said, while some guys are doing it, they don't necessarily have the package to get to the front of the grid.
Exactly.
When you look at Verstappen starting in P7, getting up to P2, or Hamilton starting in P10 or P20, getting up to P5 or P1, that little tidbit of information might just be what is actually getting them over the hump and ultimately putting them head and shoulders above everybody else. Now, let's talk about turn 4.
In turn 4, if you look at it, Verstappen's turn-in was a little bit delayed as he went into the corner. Then, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now I'm going to rotate the car. And it was kind of fishy that they didn't show the in-car of Verstappen throughout the race. I was waiting for that the entire time, and I had to wait till...
That didn't come out until Wednesday.
Until social media posted it, and I was like, oh, there it is. And the fact that they didn't show that was kind of fishy to me. To be like, we probably shouldn't show this replay because it doesn't look good for Max. Hey, at that point, it didn't affect the final outcome of the race. It ended up making it a little bit more spicy. And, if it did affect it, I think the stewards could have done something about it, because Max, I think Max, took a little bit longer to turn in than he usually does for that corner. Yes, he was on the dirty stuff, and yes, there's a couple of factors that might actually affect him a little bit more. But I honestly think, Max is not dumb. Max is a hard driver, and at that point he knows he needs to keep Lewis behind him. Do whatever he has to do to keep Lewis behind him. Let the stewards figure it out.
Now let's roll into this past weekend, the Qatar Grand Prix, because some of this still kind of rolled over into this weekend. I mean, Lewis Hamilton. Well, the interviews, we can talk about that. Let's keep it on track for right now. Lewis Hamilton was just dominating.
Yeah.
After FP3, whatever changes they make, he said he stayed with the engineers till like midnight to get it set up for qualifying. Whatever they did, he managed to just. It was almost like a robotic lap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where he's just like, it's like breaking point, turn in, apex, exit, and just like, over. Like
he was on
that
qualifying. Like, and I don't know. Like like I said, they woke the bear because he is on point right now. That car is running really well. Like. Total said at the end of the race, he thinks this is the best car they've had since the start of the season, which is very dangerous for Red Bull for Mercedes to be that confident in their car going into the last 2 rounds and being this close. But Hamilton he's just on another level right now. He checked out at the beginning of the race, never put a finger wrong, and they followed Red Bull's strategy the entire race, and he didn't want to. He was like, hey man, let them do whatever you want. I have them covered. But at that point, there's no reason to. Why risk it? So at that point, Mercedes overpowers it and says, hey man, just come in. There's no reason for you to stay out there. And the mature driver he is, he's like, all right, I'm going to listen to my team and I'm going to come in and do it. And, that just right there shows why he's one of the best. He has such a great way of thinking and on his toes and reacting to everything that happens out there. Not just like the in-lap, like next lap type thing. It's like every second of every moment on each lap. It's like it's calculated for him now, and I think it's like that matrix just came into him. Like he just sees it now, and it's dangerous. Like that's not what you want to see when you're going into the last 2 rounds when one of the best drivers of all times is in the zone. Like he looks so relaxed after the race. He was just like, yeah, I feel great conditioned. I feel like all my recovery stuff after races is feeling great, and Max kind of looked a little bit tired, where Lewis was just like, hey man, like, I can probably go another 25 and.
Yeah, but I think you feel that way after you win a race.
Yeah,
I
agree. Yeah.
Like the thing about it, I was also going to say is I thought Max had a great race too.
Oh, 100%.
Let's back it up to the quali though, because he was on the back foot. He qualified P2, ended up getting a 5-place grid drop.
Yeah.
And I actually think it benefited him because he went from starting P2 on the dirty side, and being that there's no other on-track activities throughout the weekend, and it's a MotoGP track, that side is dirty. He ended up going to P7 on the clean racing line, made a beeline towards the inside of the track for turn 1, and came out of there in like P4. And then it wasn't long before he was in P2. So I actually think it really helped him.
Yeah, I honestly think it definitely helped him. It's one of those things where he started on the dirty side, and if you look at Bottas, he struggled in the second phase at the start. He started getting some wheels.
You know what? Now I do my best not to look at it. Back to back.
But Max, he had an unbelievable launch off the start. He was up to, like you said, P4 after the first corner, and it's like, wow, like that's Max. This is why he's battling Lewis for the championship. You can't take anything away from those top 2 guys right now. They are on fire. And the fact that it comes down to, I'm gonna get the fastest lap to try to get the championship off of 1 point. That's how you know these 2 drivers are on point. Like Max is on point. He knows what he's doing. The Red Bull is strong. It's been fast, but it's been like an up and down ladder between the Mercedes car and then the Red Bull car, and then the Mercedes car and then the Red Bull car, and it's great because without a good driver in that car, it's not always going to have the best results. And even when the car might be a little bit lower, the driver can bring it back up and actually perform in it. And Max is doing really well, and for him to only be 7 seconds behind after being a half a second behind in qualifying, it's kind of showing you that he found some stuff. Looking at data too after the qualifying session, and it shows that he's working hard just as much as Lewis to get that championship. And whoever wins this championship deserves it. Like it's blow for blow. You can't favor one side to the other because it's such an amazing year for motorsports right now that F1 needed this.
With that being said, it was a good race by Max, a good race by Lewis. P3.
Yeah.
Fernando! First podium since 2014. He's had up and down. He's been in F1, been out of F1. He's back in F1. I actually think he's been having a solid year thus far. Quietly.
Yeah.
quietly. Like,
Yeah.
no, he's not commanding a bunch of media attention or anything like that. But you know, 3 races left in the season to put it on P3 for Alpine, who had a strong weekend. They were 3 and 5.
Yeah, very big points.
What do you make about?
Honestly, wow. I love it.
Wow.
I love every second of it. And it showed his, like, how great he is to be able to stay in P3 and not be affected by, you know, he did a one-stop strategy. Perez was coming. Yes, the virtual safety car helped him a little bit at the end.
I feel like he was still going to hang on, though.
So.
I honestly feel that way. Just because he's got 20 years in the game, like more than, and these guys are smart, they know. And also, I think it's very car dependent in regards to the tires.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the setup of the car, the aero of the car, like we saw both Williams go down in the same kind of thing. Like, so I think he would have been able to manage, but I mean, virtual safety car is just like, without a doubt, kind of seals the deal.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, he needed this. Like, he worked so hard with Alpine to get to where they need, and this is the best reward he could possibly have. By beating, you know, Perez 4th, 3rd. It wasn't like he was like gone. He was battling with Perez the entire time. They were within that. At one point, they were nose to tail, and when they came out of the pits and Leclerc locked up in front of him, he got by. Perez got dragged back, and it was like, oh crap! Look, he's gone again. Like, and these small things where he's able to capitalize on it for a guy that's over 40 in F1, he's still got those reactions, you know, and it's showing because. Right now, he has the most overtakes all season. It's like 115 overtakes.
All the veterans.
16. Yeah, it's him, Vettel, and Raikkonen.
Yeah, it's all the veterans. They got the most overtakes, man.
Yeah, it's awesome seeing that, and that shows, you know, the old class of fighting and being on their toes is actually kind of beating the young crowd. The young crowd's got to be there to, you know, qualify there to get to stay there. Where, you know, Vettel and Raikkonen and Alonso don't necessarily need to be up front to have good points. And Alonso is what before this weekend was the highest person in the points to not get a podium.
Correct.
So
it's like inevitable.
Yeah, he had to.
He had to.
Yeah, and one of the reasons he hasn't had the podium yet was because of that Ocon win. He blocked like there was no tomorrow and sacrificed his race so that his teammate can get a win.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's him sacrificing so that the team becomes better.
Which hasn't always been the case for Fernando Alonso. So that in itself was like a big step forward.
Exactly.
Now on the flip side, let's talk about our boy, Pierre Gasly. He started P2. He had a great weekend.
Yeah.
Is it just simply a case of that car being quick one lap and not having good race pace?
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird because they pitted him so early on the strategy, and I just think it was a bad call from the team to pull him in that early, and then he was just so far back on the back foot the entire race after that. And like at one point he was just like, I don't know why I'm so slow. And it's like, because your tires are at least 10 laps older than everyone else.
Right.
And they didn't, I don't know, when you're in that position, you should just stay on the strategy of, let's try to stick with the lead pack. Whoever's around us, let's just try to stay with their strategy and not be the first ones to pit. Like, it was kind of weird.
Did he blow that last corner or no?
I honestly think it was one of those, oh, if I just run a little wide, I don't think
let's understeer this one.
Yeah, I just think it was like, okay, let's just let Max get us, and you know, maybe we'll be able to stay with him. He was a little wide, but not that wide to blow the corner that bad. And I think, you know, that was a Red Bull AlphaTauri agreement that was like, hey, instead of just pulling over to make it look that bad, let's just make a little bit of a error and then still be in DRS going down the straightaway.
All right, so we got 2 rounds left in a phenomenal 2021 Formula One Grand Prix season. If you were in charge of either team, which team would it be right now?
I honestly, the momentum's in Mercedes. I would want to be Toto. They're a little bit more relaxed. Their driver is on point right now. The car is just getting better and better. And you know, I think that's part of this whole interview battle's going on with Horner, because he's starting to get a little bit more panicky and frustrated to be like, oh no, like what is about to happen? Like we had such a big lead, and they keep hacking away at it and getting back close to us again. We can't get the constructors away from them, even though we're leading the drivers' championship. And it's just like, I wouldn't want to be in Horner and Max's spot right now, because, like I said, Lewis is on point. Like it's going to be bad.
We might have been duped, because we've been critical of Mercedes' strategy more often than not this year. And what sticks out to me recently was the track position thing at the US Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But that was before they put an engine in.
Exactly.
Right? So if they were managing it to give him a fresh piece with 5 races left.
Yeah.
They knew they could kind of close the gap down to a point where Red Bull doesn't have that option.
Yeah.
Then it would be a beautifully managed season.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we always look race to race, but
that's it. But
they're
big picture, right?
Big picture, let's see down, and now they're coming into the end of the season, and they're way stronger engines, and they're going into the final couple races as Red Bull, or else Red Bull's going to have to take a bunch of grid penalties to get that power unit, and that I don't think they can do that at this point. I think that everyone is, you know, at the point now where it's like 5 positions is huge. Like it's
too much. It's too much.
They have to be nose to tail to start the race, or else whoever doesn't have the grid position is gonna be there. Besides Lewis at Interlagos,
but even still, I mean, even Max this past weekend, like when I found out he was in P7, I was like, this could be bad for him. You know what I mean? Because Valtteri was starting in front of him as well.
Yeah.
But evidence suggests.
Yeah, exactly. Someone that. You know, we might have thought that he would have struggled, but hey, Max showed why he's one of the best too.
So Merck has the momentum.
Yeah.
They also have a 5-point lead in the constructors.
Yeah.
With Lewis performing the way he is, Valtteri performing the way he is. Are they the favorite to win the constructors this year?
For constructors, I do think Mercedes is the favorite going into the final 2 rounds. Lewis is always going to be up there if Valtteri gets his stuff together. And stop,
he doesn't even need to be all the way together.
No, just get points. Just get some points. Like, I don't get it, but yeah, it is what it is. And I think right now, Mercedes should get the constructors. It's just the drivers' points at this point is going to be so close that I don't know, man.
Go now.
Yeah,
here we go now. You know where I'm going with this.
Oh, I know. Okay,
we got a little spread, an 8-point spread between Max and Lewis. We have 2 rounds left.
Yeah.
It's not who do we go with. At this point, who's the favorite? We know Max is in the lead, but is he the favorite to win the championship still?
I don't think so. I think just because of how strong Mercedes and Lewis has been in the last 2 rounds, and 2 races ago I would have said Max is the favorite, for sure. And
after Mexico, we came in here saying it's over.
It's over. Yeah.
We did say that.
Yeah. That exact quote was in there.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over.
It's over. We did say that. But to our credit, I think everybody said that.
I
except
think so.
for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, and I honestly think with how strong he's been, and Brazil was the game changer with how he drove, and he's just seemed to be at one with that car now. It's hard to go against Lewis when he's feeling that good. And Mercedes is saying that they're the best car, that they have their best car since the start of the season. And with the rule reg change, it kind of put them on the back foot at the start of the year, and they weren't technically feeling that they were the strong car now. They were like, you know what, the Red Bull kind of catered to these rule changes a little bit more than we did, but they took it on the chin and they said, all right, let's just work hard. And that's where Mercedes came in and we said, all right, let's just develop this car to get to what we need. And look at this, the last 3 rounds, or the last 2 rounds are going in, and they have the strongest car, I think, right now.
Boy, I tell you, this is going to come down to the last race.
It will.
I don't see how it doesn't.
Unless some contact happens and Lewis...
But I don't even see that happen. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't. Like, no. I think we saw maturity, and we know Lewis is not.
Yeah.
We saw in Brazil again, right, avoided the contact. But I think the big one in terms of that and the championship was Fernando and Max going into corner 2 this weekend. Max backed way out of it.
He's like, no,
he backed out of it. I got stuff to lose here, right? So very hopeful that there's no contact moving forward. Also hopeful that there's no more penalties. And that's kind of destroying it at this point, and there's a lot of politics happening off. But also hope at the same time we get some sort of consistency, right? And I think the drivers, they definitely need that right now in terms of like what's a fair block, how do we overtake?
Yeah, and that's what Toto was asking about the Interlagos thing. It wasn't that he wanted a penalty on Max. It's just like, okay, let's just understand this so that if it comes down to it later on in the year that Max and Lewis were in reverse situations, can Lewis do the exact same thing?
Right.
So at this point, I guess he can because, he was on the dirty stuff. At that point, he's on the inside. And I think that's all he was really doing. When everyone was kind of hating on Toto for let me get a review of this, like an inquiry about this, it was more just to clarify what's the rules, because sometimes we've seen this year where certain things that were like, I don't think that was a penalty, and they give the penalty, and then there's other things that's like, I think that was a penalty, and they didn't give a penalty, right? So it's all clarifying the rules and what these stewards are actually going to allow happen and allow them to race.
Well, Horner was summoned to the steward's office.
Yeah, but that was, I don't get it. He deserved that. He started saying that the marshals were waving the yellows just for Max so Lewis can get his lap in. Like, come on, man. Marshals are only told when to wave that yellow. They're not, they radio in and be like, yep, there's an incident here, this is what's happening, and then they're like, yeah, okay, keep waving the yellows. The FIA tells the stewards what to do, tells the race marshals what to do. You know, it's not that the marshals were like, watch this, I'm gonna not wave for Lewis, and they're gonna put it out there for Max.
Conspiracy for Netflix.
Yeah. Like, come on, Christian.
Yeah,
seriously, come on.
So here we are, let's do it. Overwhelmed, underwhelmed, surprised.
All right, no doubt, overwhelmed has got to be Alonso, man. Like, how can you not? Yeah, exactly. Like the fact that he was that fast for so long, and he stayed in P3 battle for the entire time. Yes, you know, the Red Bull and Bottas were far behind, but hey, in the end, he got to P3, he got to P2, and stayed in the P2, P3 battle the entire race, and showed that he had the pace, and in the end, he was the best of the rest. Like, it was great to see him up there. The underwhelming, I gotta bring in Bottas again. Like, he just sat there and out of the top 10 told him how to yell at you to get going, man. Come on, like, I don't get it.
It's all, yeah, like,
I don't know.
It's like embarrassing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, a bad start's a bad start.
Yeah,
but I think
exactly.
it goes back to what you were saying in the earlier bits of the conversation about adapting your driving style in order to make some headway.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he was the first one to suffer a tire blowout on the mediums, right? And he was actually in a good spot at that point.
He was in P3 at that point.
So we can't really. No. But at the same time, he once again, he got swallowed up off the start.
Yeah, exactly.
He got swallowed up off the start.
It was the first corner, and him and Perez went wide in the first corner, and that was it. He went back to like 11, 12. Yeah, like it was bad. But hey, honestly, I think when he doesn't have the pressure, Valtteri is amazing. Like, he shows that he has talent. It's just there's certain aspects that he just keeps folded under, and I don't know what it is. My surprise is going to be Ocon. Like, he stayed for like that Alpine car is, for some reason, they need to go back and figure out why.
What happened?
Why are we so fast?
Yeah.
What happened? Like, figure this out and let's apply it to all the other tracks. Ocon drove amazing. He was under the radar the entire time, and he stayed in the top 5. Like, his teammate was P3, he was in P5. He was battling hard with Perez.
He was.
He did all he could to hold him back. Yes, it wasn't Alonso that did it to Hamilton.
No, but his tires were like 10 or 11 laps older. They were hards. Perez was on the mediums.
And it's a totally different track. Yeah. There was no way he was going to do it, but the fact that he was able to battle him for 4 corners instead of just lose him in turn 1 showed that, you know what, Ocon, we've always said it, Ocon's good. He's got the talent, that's why he gets re-signed all the time, and he needs to be on the grid, and I'm very happy to see him up there.
Honorable mention, Canadian Lance Stroll,
Lance Stroll.
P6. And I'll be honest with you, man, he pissed me off early. He was down, I was like, man, what is up with it? Because we really want to discuss Canadian drivers on the Canadian podcast, and we've literally had not much to discuss. Like, if we were doing this last year, I would have been like, oh, this is great, this is incredible, you know, but like, anyhow, so I feel like it is important to mention him.
We do.
The Ferraris went back-to-back in the top 10, not as strong of a weekend, but it looks like they have a stranglehold on P3.
Yeah, they do, and I don't know what's going on with McLaren, they're kind of struggling right now. Norris was, a P9, P10, and P10 in the last 3 races, so it's, I don't know, and Ricciardo is just kind of sitting there floating, so I hope McLaren can turn it around and give a fight to Ferrari at the next 2 rounds so that their constructors can go down to it. Alpine kind of took their stranglehold on AlphaTauri, and they took a lot of points this weekend because AlphaTauri didn't get any points from starting on the front row and not getting any points. So it's kind of, that 2-car battle in the mid-pack is kind of starting to shape itself out right now, and but you never know what's going on in the last 2 rounds, and I hope that midfield battle keeps going.
And one last thing to discuss for 2022, Guan Yu Zhou jumping into Alfa Romeo alongside Valtteri Bottas. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I've been watching him at F2. He's been podium, he's got wins, he's been there for a little bit longer than most other drivers. He's got good financial backing, so I think that's the biggest thing that went into it. But hey, you can't take away from his talent because yes, he's won races in F2. It's not like he's a back runner in F2. He's up front, battling for wins, battling for poles. stuff like that. And at that point, when you're going to a team that needs the financial backing a little bit more, I think that's going to be a big factor, and it sucks because that's part of our industry now, and you know the drivers are becoming more open about all of this because they know that, you know, half those guys wouldn't be on the grid if they had to do what they had to do today that they did when they started their careers, especially Lewis Hamilton. You know, he got signed when he was really young from go-karts with McLaren, and he made it to what he is now. And yes, you know, he did have some support from outside influences and stuff like that to get him where he was, but it wasn't like, you know, he had the financial backing to get him to where he needed to be.
Ultimately, when you're looking at the grid right now, you're looking at maybe one driver that doesn't have huge backing.
Yeah.
And it's Ocon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know who else.
Honestly, I'm gonna say Ocon. Albon's coming back with, he's always had the backing. Everyone, anyone in the back 4 teams is all financially backed, and I hope that changes in our industry. You know, I've always says it sucks because, you know, the best race car driver in the world probably will never be discovered. He's sitting at home on Gran Turismo right now and saying that he, you know, racing F1 on that. But I hope, you know, sooner or later these manufacturers will end up getting the financial backings again to you know, maybe not focus on taking the money drivers now and kind of focusing it on, okay, let's go find the raw talent again. And I think that's where, you know, it's sad to say, but back in the day they had the tobacco and the liquor and all that back in them, which I'm not saying I want that back into the sport, I'm just saying that's what they had back then, where they had so much money that was coming in that they didn't have to worry about anything except going for the talented drivers. And that's what it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even the early 90s. You know, they went for the talented driver. If there was a guy that had lots of money and a guy that was talented, they were like, well, why am I going to take this guy? I'll just take the guy that's talented because I'll get the money from the sponsors and stuff like that by having the talented driver. And it's right now, it's the talented driver with backing. And I really do hope that changes sooner or later.
Crypto is going to change all of that.
Crypto all day.
Let's go to Saudi Arabia in 2 weeks' time. What do we predict? Brand new track.
Yeah.
No one knows anything. We can't really predict much.
Yeah.
But, you know, based on the conversation we've had, Mercedes has the momentum.
I think so. I think Mercedes has the momentum, and I also think that track should cater to, you know, the Mercedes with the long straights and stuff like that. But, you know, when you look at a couple, you know, Baku and stuff like that, where they do have the long straights, the Red Bull was just as strong. So we can't say that it's one or the other going in, but I think from performance aspect right now, Mercedes and Lewis is strong, and it's hard to go against them.
Definitely looking forward to that. We got 2 rounds left. This is like the semi-final.
Yeah.
For one of the greatest F1 seasons of all time. And
I don't want it to end.
I know. Of course, we'll be here to discuss what happens in Saudi Arabia, and then after that, Abu Dhabi as well. Darryl Timmers, DT, thank you so much.
No problem.
I missed you. You know what I'm saying? But you didn't. Now you didn't. Now you're on the beach.
Hey, man, I have a drink for you.
All right.
Apple juice.
That's right. We'll be back after the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It's another race weekend, Canada's F1 podcast.